Hello, hello, hello. I wanted to come on, hopefully briefly, to discuss something that I've already started discussing with you guys just in my posts, and that is about dating. Now, yesterday I posted sort of a tongue-in-cheek post, sort of kind of playing on real circumstances and kind of fudging a little bit. Not fudging, but just because I don't want to tell details. Masking, I'll say, to say, haha, there are these different types of guys that have asked me out, and I've said no. And it was totally tongue-in-cheek, just, whatever. I just felt like posting something funny, okay, because I'm funny. Maybe my funniness or sarcasm or humor is a little bit different than yours, but we're all different people. But I was kind of peeved, if I'm being honest, by some of the responses I was getting. And I know most of the people were well-intentioned. Some of them reached out to me privately, and I love you all. But honestly, I kept thinking about Pride and Prejudice, and in particular, Mr. Collins from Pride and Prejudice. So if you do not know who I'm talking about, first of all, shame on you, because Pride and Prejudice is awesome, okay? Pick a version, Keira Knightley, Colin Firth, and watch it. But Mr. Collins is an annoying little clergyman who proposes to Lizzie Bennet, and he's like, of course she's going to say yes to my proposal. Right, like, Pride and Prejudice is thebomb.com. It's one of my favorite books, too. And so he proposes to her, and she's like, no, absolutely not. And of course, she's been spending all her time trying to get away from this man and not, and mind you, Mr. Collins wanted to marry the eldest Bennet daughter, but since she was already promised to Mr. Bingley, supposedly, he picked the next best thing. Okay, so first of all of that is a problem. But you just expect me to say yes to you because you're you. Now, granted, it is 2019, and most men do not go around just proposing randomly to women and just assuming they're going to say yes. But it's kind of like this concept with dating. Oh, a guy asks you out on a date, you must say yes. Of course you're going to say yes. Why would I say yes if I'm not interested in you? And I think for some men that comes off as, oh, she fancy, she this. Hey, Reagan, I need to talk to you. But I think a lot of people can assume, oh, she's high maintenance, she's this, she's that, she's stuck up, she's whatever. But when you're dealing with, I'm not talking about just random chicks out here, okay? When you're dealing with a woman who is focused, hey, Mark, when you're dealing with a woman who is, who has purpose on the mind and who has a goal in mind, she's not just going to say yes to any dude who asks her out on a date. Single sisters, can I get an amen? She's not going to do that, okay? Because it can't just be, oh, you look nice, oh, I'm bored, I'm going to go on a date. Okay, because you've got a lot of dudes out here who talking about they're not paying for dates no more, probably because they've wasted a lot of money on a lot of women who are not purposeful. Now, that is their own fault. But it's like, I'm not going to help you waste money, okay? If I am not interested in the date, I don't want to waste my time or your money because I don't pay for dates, okay? So it's like I'm doing you a favor. If I know we're not on the same page, if I know I'm not genuinely interested in you as a person, in you as an individual, because look, if the shoe is on the other foot, I don't want you to spend time dating me, spend time going out with me, spend money on a date with me, and I'm not talking expensive, y'all, like Cheesecake Factory. It doesn't have to be expensive, whatever. Coffee, okay? I'm not going to say you have to spend time, taking me to coffee if you're like, oh, she's not that bad. I'm going to need you to think I'm thebomb.com to actually invest time in taking me out, because it's going to be the same on this end. Like, if I'm into you and I think it's a good time and it's a good situation, then I'm going to say yes. And if I'm not, we should not be expected to say yes. And a woman does not have to provide a reason for her no. And I think as women, we're so taught and so trained to explain ourselves that it's like, hold up. I don't need to explain myself. Like, and then a lot of times, like, you wind up lying or fudging the truth a little bit, you know, or like create a plan so you can say, I already have plans, or something crazy like that. Like, oh my gosh, do I have something on the calendar? Am I already occupied? Can I find like an official reason to say no? But ladies, you don't have to give them a reason. Now, you don't have to be rude, but you don't have to give them a reason. You know, I think I'm going to pass. And honestly, that's what I'm doing right now, especially since I got to Atlanta. I mean, my goodness, they're coming out of the woodworks, you know, but it's like, first of all, and some people think this is strange when my bros was kind of fussing at me today, but I was like, if I've never met you, I'm not giving you my phone number. If I've never spoken to you before, if I have no connection to you, I don't know if you're an axe murderer. I don't know if you're a womanizer. I don't know if you're straight. This is Atlanta. I don't know what the deal is, you know. So, and if my discernment does start going off, I'm really not going to go on a date with you. And get fudging the truth. It happens. We've all been guilty of it at one point or another. But my point is, I don't want to waste time, and I don't want to waste your time. And I mean, dudes, do y'all really want to waste time? Comment. Leave a comment. If you are dating for a purpose, we ain't talking about recreational dating because y'all are bored. That's not what we're talking about. I don't believe in that. When I was in marriage and the family class in college, I would argue my professor down in class, in papers, in essays, in questions, in homework. You know, I do not believe in recreational dating. Now, if you want to do that, God bless you. I ain't about that life, okay? I do not believe in recreational dating. You have to spend gas money. You have to spend Uber or Lyft money if you don't have a car. You have to get ready. I have to put on makeup. I have to spend time and energy invested in something, and I don't want to go? That's crazy. I could be Netflix and chilling by myself. I could be reading by myself. I could be working on my 15th book, and I am, by myself. I could be doing a whole lot of stuff. I could be talking to my girlfriends. I could be doing a whole host of things that I actually want to do, instead of spending time that I will never get back, or expecting someone else to spend time that they will never get back on a date that they're not really actually interested in. So, ladies, don't feel obligated just to say yes to a man just because he asks you out. And one of the things that kind of was getting under my skin about the post was people were saying, oh, I can't believe they were all that bad, or they can't be that bad. Now, first of all, I'm not finna put all my business on Facebook, because some of these dudes are on Facebook. Okay, but some of the things I will say is, if you slide into my DMs and I have never spoken to you, and you have never introduced yourself to me, on top of me not being attracted to you, on top of me picking up a controlling and a self-righteous vibe from you, I'm not going to speak to you. You can't even hold a proper conversation. So to say, I'm coming to Atlanta, what does that mean to me? It means nothing to me. I'm not even going to respond to you, okay? The same dude, if you guys remember, so sort of the tongue-in-cheek post I put on Facebook maybe like six to 8 weeks ago, something like that, about my list for my guy. And again, it was funny, but serious, but funny, you know, because I put fine and loves Jesus, fine and straight, fine and whatever. You must be fine. But it was funny because the same dude hopped in my DMs and was like, I'm everything on your list. I didn't even say what my definition of fine was, because I didn't want to come off as superficial, and it changes. I like dark-skinned men. I keep being attracted to these caramel brothers. I don't know what it is. It's not planned. And Idris is married, so what are we going to do, ladies? And I'm totally joking. Y'all can see I'm crazy. I'm a goofball, and I probably need to eat some food. But it was just totally weird. Like, how do you expect a woman to respond to you if you're not even introduced? Right! Like, I'm coming to ATL. I'm coming to Atlanta. I don't know you. I have never met you. Fine. Can I use celebrities? I'm going to use celebrities. Okay, so the ideal is Idris, but Idris is married to a beautiful woman. Moment of silence. Boris Kojo. Blair Underwood. I I'm finally beginning to appreciate Shamar more. Just now. I don't really like light-skinned dudes, okay? So if you're light-skinned, I'm sorry. But the thing is, when you look at the guys I've dated, and you guys would not know who that is, but when you look at the spectrum of dudes I've dated men who are my skin color. One was actually mistaken for being my twin. That was awkward. And that was like when I was 17. That was a long time ago. I've dated guys who were from the motherland, who were dark-skinned, like very dark, like Idris dark. I've dated guys who were in the middle. I've dated guys who were tall, like 6'3". I've dated a guy who's like 5'7", 5'8". I've dated guys who have six packs and abs and work out all the time. I've dated guys who do not, So I've dated the spectrum. I've dated guys who were fine and like the it boy, and I've dated guys who were not. So I have a pretty good spectrum. So someone who looks at me and is like, oh, Desiree is just high maintenance. She's just, if you actually saw my record of the, six guys I've actually dated in my life, and some of the guys I've talked to, whatever, it's the spectrum. And I don't hunt for men with certain trades or with certain careers. Now, if we won't talk about who chases, but I'm just saying, like, there are certain connotations, so I want to dispel some of those. Like, I don't chase preachers. Really, honestly, at this point, I'm kind of turned off by preachers because it's just so much mess. And I know there's some really amazing ministers, men of God, married and single out there. A lot of the good ones are married. Honestly, in these days, let's be real. I'm like, are you straight? Have you always been straight? Have you only ever been attracted to women? Are you going to be eyeing my brother at the family reunion? Because if you are, it's going to be a problem. Were you gay and were you delivered? That is an amazing testimony, but it is not my personal ministry for my marriage, okay? I'm not interested. Like, we gotta ask these questions. Okay, here's another question. Do you run after ministers who are gay and surrounded by men who are gay, or who are bi, or who sleep around, or who are whoremongers, or who gossip like little girls? Oh, I'm gonna go there. I ain't finna drop no names, but I'm just gonna put it out there like that, okay? Because if you run after some of these dudes who are straight, who are very questionable, who are wild, who are perverse, I'm not interested, because I have to submit to you and you're submitted to that? Oh, no. No. I need to know for a fact that you are straighter than a board, okay? Straighter than a board. At least straight as a board, okay? Because I can't do it. I love you, but I can't do it, and I won't do it, and I will not apologize for it, okay? For the most part, not really interested in dudes who've been divorced. And I mean, I've even gone against that rule before. So rules have been broken before. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about morals and values and things like that, because that's not ever going to happen. But, like, ladies, have a standard and don't apologize if someone is not your cup of tea. You'll notice what I did not say is, oh, they must have this type of job. What I did not say is they must be this tall, although we do have preferences. What I did not say is they must be this skin color. What I did not say is they must drive this. What I did not say is they must wear this brand of clothes. What I did not say is they must live in this type of house, okay? So don't assume things. Just because a woman has standards doesn't mean she's high maintenance in a negative sense. Hey, Uncle Ben. So, like, I'm just putting it out there, okay? And then when I'm getting prophetic words over my life about my husband, about my ministry, like, forget your ministry, my ministry, I know what God has called me to. So if you out here playing games, it's a no. If you don't know what your purpose is, it's a no. If you're in your purpose and it's diametrically opposed to my purpose, it's a no. It's a no. And that is something I am completely unapologetic about, okay? And because I know it's on my life and I know what I am called to. And if you can't cover that, if you're insecure, if my little post about this scares you off, then bye-bye. I don't need that. I am totally unapologetic about it. Totally. Because I can't submit to you if you got a Bobby Brown syndrome and you can't stand to have a wife who's going to be in the limelight, don't even approach. Go about your business. Go find somebody else. If you're in ministry and you don't want someone who's going to be on a platform in ministry too, don't do it, because you're not going to stick me in the corner somewhere or stick me in the home and keep me barefoot and pregnant. Now, I love babies. I love babies. Oh my gosh, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a pediatric nurse. And then when I realized that I hate math and science and that is not my forte, I realized it was just the babies. I just wanted to play with the babies. Okay, now I don't like everybody's kids. But I love babies in general. I was the kid growing up who always had somebody's baby. I was babysitting even through college and all that. I love babies, okay? I love kids. I love the idea of being able to take care of my husband and take care of my kids. But I'm not going to be a stay-at-home mom. And I'm not going to be a stay-at-home wife. And I'm unapologetic about that. Now, there may be certain seasons, but that is something that needs to be understood off the bat. You're not going to marry me and stick me in a kitchen. If you are marrying me because you want someone to cook your food, don't bother. If you're marrying me or dating me because you think you want someone to clean your house, don't bother. It doesn't mean I'm not going to cook and try to cook better than I do now. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to try and clean, because I like having a clean house. If you know me, then you know this. It's not that I'm not going to do those things. But if you are marrying me for a domestic reason, if you are interested in dating me because you think I will be this, don't even bother. Don't even bother. Go find a woman who's content to do that. And I am not knocking that. I'm saying I know what is on my life. I know what I am called to. So if it's a problem for you, then you need to reassess. Because I'm not going to be reassessing. Because I've already been in the place where I didn't completely know what I was called to. Okay? And it created problems in the relationships, Fast forward to when I knew my calling and was sure of it, but then I tried to fit my personality in a box to please somebody. It didn't work. Guess what? Prophets can't hide it. And if being called to the prophetic office is a problem, if being married to a woman or dating a woman in a serious relationship with a woman who hears God and it picks up on stuff and can look at a picture and discern the spirit and all of that, if that is a problem, don't bother. Because we're not throwing away the mantle to make you comfortable. And here's the thing, ladies. If you marry him, you have to submit to him. God expects you to submit to him. So if you marry someone who is anti your purpose, you're still out of order if you rebel against him and pursue your purpose. So I would much rather be single. Do I want to be in a relationship? Absolutely. Do I want to get married? Are you kidding me? I've been planning my wedding since I was a 10-year-old tomboy. The answer is yes. Okay. Seriously, I could plan my wedding off of Instagram. Okay, whatever. But at the end of the day, I see other situations, and actually this was a family member, and I didn't even respond when they said this, but it was that funny meme that was going around. It's like, I want to be married, but not like to some of the husbands that y'all got. I meant that with my whole heart. Because I see, and I'm talking, if I don't know your marriage, I can't comment on your marriage. But if I know stuff about your marriage, and I've observed your marriage, and it wasn't something that was appealing to me, I meant that. In my spirit, no, am I going to tell you that? No. I'm not going to tell you that, because that's your marriage. You're married. Like, what are we going to do at this point? You made your choice. But there are a lot of examples I've seen that are not something I would want for my life in my marriage. I don't want it. I can think of maybe a couple examples that I personally know of. Again, if I don't know you, I can't comment. But that I personally know of, that I'm like, I would like something like that. My own version of that. Someone like that. You guys know what is appealing to you and what is not. You guys know what is functional and what is not. You know what is dysfunctional and what is not. And so when you see a lot of people who settled or who were in not a good state to get married and be in those situations, that's not something I envy. That's not something I desire. It's not something I am longing for. And this is another thing. And it's ladies who are really solid in the word and very solid in your call. You guys will understand this. They will say that you're intimidating. Hey, Sister Teree. They will say that you are intimidating. And they will almost make you feel like you have to dumb yourself down. Like, dumb your Bible IQ down. Dumb your spiritual IQ down. Dumb your prophetic IQ down for their comfort. The devil is a liar, and you must be crazy. Cracked, crazy, on crack cocaine, something. Because I'm not dumbing myself down for your ego. And you have to ask yourself, why are a lot of these Christian dudes marrying non-Christian women? Or taking women out of the world and making them their wives? Or women who never really promoted the fact that they were Christians before, but now you're a Christian when you got married to a minister. I'm not going to go any further on that subject. But what I will say is that I'm not going to dumb myself down to make you feel good. And this is a question I've been genuinely asking. Like, can someone please tell me? Because I have never seen this, like, personally in my life or whatever. I have never up close seen an example of a husband who washes his wife with the water of the word, and his wife was solid and mature in the word, mature in the spirit, mature in her calling. Now, if you're unequally yoked, I can see that. It's very easy to wash somebody in the water of the word when they don't know it. And so I'm saying, what does this look like for me, for someone like me? Because I have a lot of girlfriends who are like this as well. My girls are solid in the word. They are solid in the call. Most of them are prophets or hugely prophetic, okay? We know our stuff, and we know our God. And so what does that look like when a man comes in and covers that? Because it's like, I don't need you to preach at me. I don't need you to come and teach at me. Now, I can learn from you. And that's another thing. If I can't learn from you, if I feel like you're just someone I can't really learn from, it's going to be a problem, because I need to be able to respect you in that way, so you don't have to have the same knowledge. You don't even have to have exactly the same amount of knowledge, but you can have a completely different biblical spiritual knowledge that I can learn from. Okay, it's not always about rank necessarily. And then people will say, oh, if you're a prophetess, then you need to be married to an apostle, or you need to be married to a prophet, or at least a pastor. Find that for me in the Bible. And I know that may seem contradictory to what I just said, but find that for me in the Bible. Where he must be a prophet. Where he must be an apostle. You can still cover me and help me cultivate my purpose without being an apostle or a prophet or a pastor. And I know we see a lot of those couples, and I think it's something that's easier because the person understands ministry, understands the call, hopefully, but it is not a requirement. It's not even somewhere that's stated. Equally yoked does not mean you both have to be prophets. or he must be an apostle and you must be a prophetess. That's nowhere in the Bible. So let's use balance, people. But you just there's a lot of frustrations attached to single Christian women who are solid, who are focused, who are knowledgeable in their purpose and know what God is speaking to them. So I won't change. And thank you for those of you making comments like that. I have no intention of changing. I am not going to change and honestly, like, this may be a negative, if I'm just going to be honest. Like, I'm the type of person, I just want to put it all on the table up front. Like, can you handle this? And I'm not even saying that's preferable or advisable, but I'm just telling you how I feel. Like, can you handle this? Because if you can't, just let me know now. Don't nice guy me and not tell me the truth because you're a nice guy and I'm a nice girl and you don't want to hurt my feelings. Because what happens there is we'll start dating, we'll start talking, we'll start whatever we're doing, and then you'll realize, you know what, I really can't do this. Or I really don't want to do this, which is, I think, more often the case. I really don't want to do this. This is not what I am looking for. And then when you could have said something up front, you wind up saying something down to fact. When we're more attached, when, you know, a soul tie started to form, blah, 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 you know, we're used to each other, and it becomes more hurtful. It's like, you know, just tell me up front. If you can handle this, let me know up front. Better yet, don't even approach. Which is why it's important to get to know people, and why I think it's a little weird, just personally, not knocking you if you go on a date with perfect strangers, but I really don't want to go on a date with a perfect stranger. I was at a church service a few weeks ago, and I was just small chatting with some guy who was standing next to me because I was waiting for someone to come back out of the offices. And he, you know, oh, are you new? Yeah, I'm new to Atlanta, blah, 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 blah. You know, oh, well, maybe I can take you to lunch sometime. Dude has his phone out and is like ready to type my phone number in. And I'm like, hold on. Are you hitting on me? Like, I was so taken aback, and I was like, I'm not giving you my phone number. I don't know you. Like, I don't know you. Like, I don't know if you're an axe murderer. I don't know if you're crazy. I don't know if you have a whole wife, because some of these dudes, y'all be married and sliding into my inbox, or y'all be still legally married and sliding into people's inboxes, or you'll have whole girlfriends, whole fiancés, and sliding into people's inboxes. I don't know you. Nope. You will not be getting my phone number. Because how do I know you're not going to start calling me every day? How do I know you're not going to harass me or just do something crazy or start randomly FaceTiming me at 3 a.m.? Who has the time? Do you have the time, Tony, Carmen, Jay, Elisa, Sear Washington? Who has the time? Okay? I don't have the time. I don't have the interest. And I'm sure most commonsensical people do not. So it's not something that is of interest to me. And so I think it's important to be focused. And when you're focused, people can take that the wrong way. But those aren't the people who are for you. And I think I said this at the beginning of this, and I'm going to say this again. I think people, and this is just in the season where I'm sort of realizing this with people I thought knew me. I'm like, you really don't know me. Because in general, I don't really care what people think. When you are called to be a prophet, you have to have thick skin. So for the most part, I am the person who does not give a flying fig what people think. Now, you will know that I care what you think because I will invite you to give me advice. I will seek advice from you. You are someone who has authority in my life to speak into my life, whatever that extent may be, whatever that level may be. You will know because, first of all, you'll probably have my phone number. And we will speak on a fairly regular basis or whatever, you know, maybe email, and we'll email frequently, whatever the particular situation is. Like, the people who have a right to speak into my life know it. In general, that is not Facebook, that is not Periscope, that is not Instagram. I don't care what people think. I don't, and it's not to say I'm above correction. It's just knowing everyone can't speak into your life and everyone has an opinion. Bishop Tudor said, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but you're also entitled to be wrong. So we all have those moments, and so it's important to understand who has the right and the authority and the relationship to speak into your life. And this is totally veering off subject, but there was a young man I had to block maybe a week or two ago because he kept demanding my credentials. Who's your spiritual father? Who birthed you out? Who do you pay tithes to? Who do you this? And I'm like, I have never met you in my entire life. And he posted this, he didn't DM me. He didn't send me a message. He didn't even introduce himself. This dude had sent me a Facebook friend request and I deleted it because the two people we had in common, I realized I don't even know who those people are. So I'm definitely not accepting your friend request, and you don't even have a profile picture. Like, I don't even know who you are, okay? So it was a whole problem. And don't mind me, I'm just getting my charger. Okay. It was a whole problem. Actually, I'm just going to move some stuff around and resituate myself. There we go. But yeah, it was just a lot of craziness. Okay. Just a second. Okay, there we go. It was craziness. And so I ignored him the first time. The second time I ignored him. The second time I was like, okay, now I need to put you in your place. Now I need to break it down for you, because clearly you have a comprehension problem. Like, you don't just go around demanding people's credentials. Okay, who are you? And that's what I wanted to say, but I didn't say that because that could have come off wrong. But who are you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know you. I have no relationship to you. And if you had actually invested in following me, if you were really truly concerned about my ministry, first of all, I am not shy about who my spiritual father is. I've said it a gazillion times. I'm not shy about, my father's in the faith. I'm not shy about, if, like, yes, I pay tithes. It's not a secret, you know what I mean? I mentioned where I pay tithes to the other day because somebody asked me, and so I don't have an issue saying those things, but his spirit was off, and it was like he was entitled to an answer. And so I said, because I don't like your spirit, I'm not giving you nothing. People are not entitled to have access to your life. They're not entitled to speak into your life. That is something that you have to extend to them. I'm looking, just a second. I'm reading somebody's comment. Yeah. It takes a special kind of man to be married to a prophetic woman. It takes a special man to be married to a woman of purpose. And that's not to say a woman who wants to be a wife and or a mother alone is not a woman of purpose. The thing is, she has to be clear on, this is my purpose. This is what I was called to do. This is my sphere of influence right here. And for a lot of us, it's not just only in the home. It is not negating the home, because the home is your first ministry, but it is not only in the home, and there's nothing wrong with that. And fellas, if you feel some kind of way about that, we could maybe have to, I'm not inviting you to slide into my DMs, but it would be more of a one-on-one situation to see, okay, do you have a problem with women? Do you have a problem with women in ministry? Do you like women, or do you just use them? We would have to go down that list. But, if you want a wife who's just going to be in the home, then that's what you should ask out. That's what you should look for. And if a woman who's not interested in that life says no, then she spared you, because you wouldn't be happy in that situation and she wouldn't be happy in that situation. So, figure out what your purpose is. And that's why, I did a podcast, and I can post a link for you guys. I think I did it a week ago. It was last Thursday. And it was on more than a helpmeet, being more than a helpmeet. And the thing is, women don't lose their God-given purpose when they get married. Women do not become spiritually blind when they say, I do, or when their last name is changed. your purpose remains the same. But the problem is, if you don't know your purpose, I don't know if you're suitable for me. So if I don't know I'm called to prophetic ministry, if I don't know I'm called to author, if I don't know that I'm called to be a governing, like Samuel type individual, then how do I know how you fit into my life? Because the thing is, Adam has a vision. I'm just using Adam as in like Adam in the garden. Adam has a vision from God. Eve has a vision from God, okay? I'm Eve in this scenario, okay? So if I know what God has spoken to me about my life, if what he's spoken to you about your life does not align, it's not going to work. And I'm not even going to waste my time. Now, if you find, I may be temporarily distracted, but at the end of the day, it's a no. It's a no, because we are not equally yoked. Okay? So purpose is your vision and my vision coming together so we can have what humanity is supposed to have, which is joint dominion. From Genesis chapter 1, I created them and gave them dominion and told them to have dominion over the earth, okay? So you might have purpose, but it might not be compatible to my purpose. So, don't stress. Find out what your vision is. And people say, don't give up, honey. And I know people mean the best when they say that. But people who say that also don't know me. Because I don't need you to tell me not to give up. Because we would never given up, okay? That was never an option. We were never going to stop pursuing the call of God in our lives because I didn't get a date? Because you turned me down? Because you didn't ask me out to begin with? What? That's crazy talk. No, I'm just going to keep plodding along and doing what God has called me to do. And eventually he will show up or get it together or whatever it is, whomever he is, but we were never going to stop. Now I may have a moment emotionally, but I'm going to keep working on my book, keep working on my blog, keep working on whatever it is God has called me to do, because we're not going to stop. That was never an option. Never, ever, ever an option at all. I'm looking at some of y'all's comments. So, yeah. It's very interesting. And I know I came on here in a more lighthearted way talking about dating, and a woman is not obligated to say yes to your dates. And she is not. Okay? But yeah, fellas, put a little more effort in when you ask a woman. If you are going to actually do that, put in a little more effort, put in a little more consideration, assess your situation, count up the costs. Is this really something? I'm saying I want this right now, but is this really something that you can really afford? And I'm not even really talking about money. Is this something you can afford in your life? I heard this situation years ago, and this guy was pursuing this girl, and he really liked her, supposedly. He really liked her, and she was like, you're asking me to follow you, but you don't know where you're going. Fellas, if you don't know where you're going, or if this is worse, if you know where you're going and you're really not actively working toward that, or another one, if you know where you're going and you are actively working toward that, but you don't see how I fit into that picture, or if you're all of those things and you don't want me to fit into that picture in terms of helping you, the aspect of the help me never goes away. It's not exactly what you think of it as. It's actually, whenever that word pops up in scripture, it's actually in a military context. It's not in a little weak, womanly context that so many people assume and don't. I'm just going to post the link. I'll find the link when this is over, and I'll post the link to my podcast interview, because I do a 30-minute teaching in it on what a helper or helpmeet actually is from a biblical standpoint. And then I come for all of those mindsets that have been passed down from the early church fathers, Catholic and Protestant, because a whole lot of them were problematic. These men hated women. These men were afraid of women. These men thought women were the gateway to hell. And these are the men who influence our Bible colleges and our seminaries today. St. Augustine, Thomas of Aquinas, Martin Luther, Albert Magnus, a lot of these individuals, Tertullian, these men did not have healthy relationships with women. They thought women were only good for breeding, basically. Some of them talked about how women were misbegotten, how women are not the image of God, how women, because of our physical frame, aren't as intelligent as men, and we are only good for breeding children. The devil is a liar, and you, sirs, are deceived on this subject. And this is just a little freebie. Whenever you start teaching on a subject that you don't have revelation in, and you stray beyond scripture, you enter into error. You enter into error. That's why if I don't know something, I tell you, you know what, I don't know it. You know what, I don't know it, but this person knows it. You know what, that's not my lane. I stay in my lane. And if it's not my lane, I don't address it, because I am not qualified to address it. And if I do start to address it, it's going to be a whole problem, because I'm going to start giving you stuff that's not spiritually and or scripturally sound. So stay in your lane. These men, when it came to women and wives and whatever, they did not stay in their lane. And really, that's just the byproduct, because these men were wounded or were just mistaught about women. I mean, they really allowed society, pagan, worldly society, to influence their vision of women and to pervert scripture as it pertains to women. So when somebody tells you that the Bible hates women and the Bible is anti-women and the Bible is about making women second-class citizens, you don't know the Bible. You might know some stories, you might have even read it, but you definitely don't know the author of the Bible, or you are just blocked and deceived on this particular subject matter. Because read Romans 16 for me. How many women does Paul commend in Romans 16 as co-laborers and fellow laborers and being of note among the apostles? How many women were an intricate part of Jesus and Paul's ministry? Funding, housing, supporting, evangelizing, doing the work of the evangelist. It was a whole lot of women. It was a whole lot of women. So if you have some little weird male chauvinist spirit, you need deliverance. And you also don't need to ask me on a date. I'm just kind of kidding. No, I'm serious, you don't. But I'm not saying anyone's done that. But someone said, what does equally yoked look like? I think it can look like different things for different people, but it shouldn't even be a question, can I date this person if they're not a believer? Should not even, why are we discussing this? I remember one of my recent crushes, when I was telling my friends about him, they're like, are they a Christian? And I'm like, are you talking to Desiree Michelle Mondesir? I think you called the wrong friend, because of course, I wouldn't waste my time mentioning someone to you who's not. Okay, so that's solid. They need to be a believer, because you are absolutely unequally yoked. But being a believer is not enough. You can have a completely different mindset. You can have some of these hyper grace theologies, these eternal salvation theologies, reformed religion type theology. There are a lot of theologies floating around there, and I need to know if you share them or if we disagree on them, because this is going to be how is my life going to be? How is my ministry going to be? Am I allowed to be in ministry? Am I allowed to be a minister? Are you anti-women in certain parts of ministry? Are you anti-women in certain offices of ministry? What else? How are we going to raise our kids? Now, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about eternal salvation, but one thing I'm not going to do is teach my kids that they can run around doing whatever they want and still go to heaven. Now, I have personally never spoken to anyone who has been to heaven and been back, who has died and gone to heaven and come back, okay? But there are certain things I'm not going to guess and play around with. I am going to try to live my life like I think Jesus is coming back. And so I cannot agree to come into covenant with someone who is not going to raise our children in a way that says holiness is still right. Now, I'm not talking about legalism. I'm not talking about that. But people who walk around thinking they can do whatever, live however, because Jesus paid it all, what? It's not going to work. There are a lot of weird ideas floating around, and some it's just like it's a personal preference. You know, like it is more important for you to be in alignment with your spouse than it is for you to be in alignment with your pastor. And I know some of y'all pastors may not like that, but I can disagree with my pastor. I was briefly going to a church a few years ago, and the pastor was literally preaching against Christmas. Preaching against Santa. He was like, yo, Santa, yo, Satan. First of all, sir, that's not even linguistically correct, but I couldn't say that. You know, what did I do? I went home and I chuckled during the service and I put up my Christmas tree and I enjoyed it. Okay? I wrapped my gifts and I put it under my tree and I had a friend's Christmas, okay, with my friends because it was just us in that particular place, okay? But if my husband doesn't believe in celebrating Christmas, it's the whole problem because I'm trying to have a Christmas tree in every room of the house, okay? And I'm just using that as an example. I also don't believe in debating other believers on Christmas. I'm just not going to do that. Halloween, I'll debate you down every single day. I'm not doing that with Christmas, okay? But I respect your opinion to think that. But if we're not on the same page, it's a problem. If you have a life purpose that does not align with mine, we're not equally yoked. If you can't cover me in warfare, we're not, or not even willing to learn, we're not equally yoked. That's not to say, again, that you have to be a minister, because you don't. You don't have to be an elder, a deacon, an apostle, a prophet, a pastor, an evangelist, or a teacher. Now, it might help, but you don't have to be. It depends on your purpose and your situation, but it should be someone who is not going to tear down which you have been investing in personally, or if you already have kids, which you've been instilling in your children. Can this person honestly come alongside you? Okay, what is unequally yoked from an agricultural standpoint? It's pairing an ox with a mule. An ox with a donkey with a horse with a mule. You know, like, it's two completely different animals. A horse is noble. It's a beautiful animal, but it cannot work alongside an ox in the same yoke. Now, we can be on the same farm. We can even be on the same plot of land, but we cannot be yoked together, because one of us is going to have a problem and the other one is going to get damaged. So it's not a knock against horses or mules or donkeys or ox. If you're a donkey, then you need to be with another donkey. If you're a mule, you need another mule or donkey, whatever, because they're hybrids. If you're a horse, you don't need to be with a little pony. You don't need to be with a gigantic Clydesdale. You need to be with another horse if you're pulling a carriage or something like that. So think from that standpoint. Don't think so much title, position. Obviously, salvation is non-negotiable, or it should be. Because when Paul talks about sanctifying the unbelieving spouse, he's talking about two people who were not married. One of them gets converted and the other is still an unbeliever. in that context, your behavior, your prayers, your different things like that, you can sanctify your children and you can even be an example to your unbelieving spouse. But he was not saying go out and find somebody in the world and, as Miles Monroe said, drag them back into Eden. No missionary dating. Unless you are John and Lisa Bevere. And clearly the Lord had a plan because he asked her out on a date. She got saved, got filled with the Holy Ghost, and got delivered from lactose intolerance on the first date, y'all. Tell me that wasn't Jesus, okay? Clearly, he had a huge purpose in mind, but that is not the average situation. It's just not. Like, let's be honest. So you need to be equally yoked in goals. You need to be equally yoked in desires, in values, in what you see for your life, in what you're trying to build. Count up the cost. Are y'all even trying to build the same thing? Because a lot of people out here are not. And again, if you don't know your vision, you don't even know if you're in alignment. So don't ask yourself, are we equally yoked? Ask yourself, do our visions align? Are we in alignment with each other? Because if you're not, then that's a clear indicator that you're not equally yoked. Okay, hopefully I answered that. Let's see. I was not coming on here to be this long. Let's see. Hey, Bishop Ron. Yeah, so you can't just date anybody. You can't just marry anybody. You can't just be with anybody because anybody is not suitable. Hey, Zemi. Dr. Darius Daniel said that a soulmate is someone who is suitable for my soul and necessary for my purpose. Now, a lot of times we think about the lovey-dovey romantic aspect, and that is important. However, if you are not necessary for my purpose, it's a whole problem, okay? We are not in alignment. Sir, if you cannot cultivate my purpose, sir, if my purpose intimidates you and that causes you to run or to try and have a Bobby Brown syndrome and cut me down to make yourself great, it's a problem. It's a whole problem. So would I much rather sit at home on a Saturday night and watch Gilmore Girls or Parks and Recreation? Absolutely. Then go on a date with someone who is not suitable. And some people are offended, but we just need to call a spade a spade. If we are not suitable, then we are not suitable. What is the legacy that you are trying to build? Are you even trying to build a legacy? Are you dating? Because you can be, I see a lot of beautiful, amazing, solid men who are with women who are not suitable for their purpose. And some of them know it. Some of them really do know it. And it's like, what are you doing? Are you passing the time? You're just wasting money. That's what you're doing. You're wasting money and you're wasting time calling, FaceTiming, flights, visiting, trips, dates, whatever. You're wasting time. That's what you're doing. And so that's a problem. Like, why are you so willing to you can have fun without going on a date. So maybe it's just my increasingly ambiverted ways, I should say. It's just not necessary just to go out and to spend money for a situation that you're not interested in. And again, this is probably why a lot of dudes are saying they're not even paying for dates anymore, because they've wasted so much money on dates that were worthless. And it's not that the person was worthless, but the person wasn't suitable for nothing, not for their life. They were not in alignment. And so that is something to be mindful of, because fellas, this is my take, okay? If you ask me out on a date, you're pursuing me, so you're paying, okay? And that's what I think it is. Like, and even my guy friends pay. Like, when we're going out to eat or something like that, and it's not something that's mandated, it's something that they just typically usually do. It's what I'm used to. Call me spoiled, whatever. But if it's dating, definitely. You should be paying if you are pursuing me. And I'm not saying take me to Fleming's Steakhouse. I'm not saying we have to go to P.F. Chang's. I'm not saying we have to go to the loftiest, hotel, restaurant, steakhouse, whatever. We don't have to do that. I'm not going to argue against it, but we don't have to do that. You know what I mean? It's really not that necessary. I've heard this trend now about people who are asking people on pre-dates, what is a pre-date? I guess it's Netflixing and chilling. It's not even coffee, apparently. I'm like, you can't buy someone coffee? Coffee? A $6 Starbucks drink is too much of an investment for you? To see if you actually want to take someone on a real date? I'm just so confused by this. It's like, to those of you who are solid men who don't do this, I'm not talking about you, but it's like men have become lazy. When was it like a chore to take a nice woman on a date? Bruh, if she said yes and it wasn't for the wrong reasons, like, this is not a bad thing, hopefully. Now, there may be some very interesting TV-worthy stories, but that I would not think that that's the typical situation. Like, you're making an investment, and if you think that taking me on a date is wasting money, then please save your money and don't take me on a date. Don't ask me out. Just keep your money, invest it, buy a book, invest in a master class. Just don't take me out on a date, because I don't need you to think that you're settling or that you're wasting money or that I'm not worth your time. Because I'm not going to go out with you if I don't think you're worth my time in a relationship context. I'm not saying a person is worthless. Don't say Desiree said men are worthless. Don't say Desiree said things that I did not. If you have questions for clarification, you can ask me after the fact. But just don't waste each other's time. Just know what you want. Go after it. I'm all over the place, y'all. Does anybody have any questions? Let me look through these comments and see what I've missed. Because I know I was doing a lot of talking and not a lot of reading. But I'll take any comments or questions now. I'm on the floor. Don't mind me. So I know the light is sort of shifting. Let's see. The summation of all this is date for purpose, and ladies, don't feel bad about not going on a date with a man. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. Someone said earlier, it's some good movies on Netflix. Absolutely. Good movies and shows and documentaries. If you guys haven't watched any of those music documentaries, I watched the one on killing Sam Cooke recently. I realized I didn't know anything about Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke died when he was my age, y'all. 33. That's crazy. I watched the one on the Lion's Share dealing with the author of The Lion's King, or the man who wrote the lyrics for that, and some of the other ones. They're very fascinating. The one on The Godfather. Ooh, that one was good. That one was really good. But yeah, there are much more, and I love documentaries. So, go learn something. If it's not someone you actually want to be on a date with, don't bother. Just go learn something, okay? Don't jilt them, okay? And fellas, I am going to say this. Don't ask us if we want to hang out. Anytime somebody says that, I'm like, I don't know what hang out means in 2019. I don't know if you're asking me on a date, but you're too much of a punk to ask me on a date. I don't know if you genuinely want to hang out. I don't know if you're bringing friends. I don't know what this means. Be clear. If you're asking me out to a meal, what is the purpose of this meal? And here's another tidbit. Don't slide in my DMs and say, hey, hi, I'm not going to respond, okay? Because I'm just not going to waste my time. Because, like, say something. Like, hi, let me know your reason for contacting me. Because there are random spammers out here who'll show up in your DMs, okay? No response. But if you actually tell me why you are trying to speak to me, you will have a much better chance. And this is just across the board, ladies. I think a lot of you would agree. Don't be vague. And I think a lot of guys are vague because their feelings and they don't want to get hurt. But it's like, I can't be clear with you if you're not being clear with me. Don't be vague. It's not cool. Be a man. Okay. And see, y'all are awesome because y'all can go and get that job you want. You can go to that school you want. If you were in sports, you went out for the sports team that you wanted. Y'all will go out and be the big man and do the dang thing everywhere else. But when it comes to asking a woman out, come on, fellas. I believe in you, okay? I believe in you. I believe you can fly. All that crap, okay? Just do it. You know, one of my brothers says, you know, I just put in my bid. You know, either she accepts it or she doesn't. You know, just kind of adopt that a little bit. You know, like just make the ask. Either they're going to say yes or they're going to say no. Or maybe they'll say yes later. Maybe it's not a good time because you don't know what her situation is. And she may be trying not to hurt your feelings. She may be not in a good space. She may be genuinely interested in someone else. I don't know, you know, but don't just sort of assume things. Just be clear so we can be clear with you in return. Okay, let me look at these comments. Let me see. I'm just gonna actually fast forward down through some of these comments. Women are not as difficult as men assume we are. We just want you to be clear. If you want us to go on a date, actually figure out where it is. Don't ask us where we want to go. You know, if you're not familiar with the area, just Google top places for a date. You know what I mean? Like, it's not difficult. Okay, somebody asked the question, do you believe an anointed woman can be a catalyst to a man walking in his purpose? Yes, but you don't have to date them. And this is kind of similar to something I wanted to say and forgot. There's kind of this mindset that like really solid women in the spirit, in the faith, in the Bible, in the word and all that, we should just sort of acquiesce and help grow a man up in the spirit. Why? Aren't you supposed to lead me? I'm confused by this. Like, why do I have to grow you up in the spirit? It's the whole problem for me. Now, some women are interested in doing that. I'm not the one. I'm not, like, you need to come, just like I need you to be able to dress yourself. I need you to be able to come, you know, already solid. It's not saying you have to have arrived, and nobody arrives. You know what I mean? But you already need to be moving towards your purpose. Now I'll give you guys an example. In January, I was in Starbucks in North Carolina, and I ran into this guy, and I was just waiting for my drink, you know, and I was about to go out and do Postmates for like the first time. And we were just chatting, and I'm a chatter, okay? So just because I'm chatting with you doesn't mean I'm actually interested. But you may have a chance if we're talking and you have an intelligent conversation. I don't know. But we were just chatting, and it turned into what I recalled as a ministry moment. Like a come to Jesus moment. Like, hey, bruh, like you're called to ministry. You know that. This is your wake-up call. God bless you. I'm going to go out the door now. Okay, and it was cool, you know, but I didn't think of him in that way at all. It honestly didn't even cross my mind. It was just like, this is a ministry moment, and I'm glad Jesus could use me. I ran into him right before I moved, like a day or two before I moved to Atlanta, toward the end of June. And I didn't even recognize him. And then he was like, hey, are you the person from Starbucks? And I was like, oh, yeah, Starbucks over there. Yeah, okay, yeah, that was me. Cool, whatever. And he'd actually sent me an email because I gave him my paparazzi card because I didn't have my other business cards on me. And he messaged me, but I didn't respond because it kind of felt like he was hitting on me, and then it just got really weird, okay? But he was kind of hitting on me later, but I remembered that as a ministry moment. To me, it wasn't like I want to go on a date with you moment. So I believe that there are women can be used in a lot of amazing, wonderful ways, but I don't think you should necessarily go into a dating situation, a romantic situation, expecting this woman to propel you into your destiny. Now, it may happen, and hands down, I'm going to be your number one cheerleader. Like, this is not even a question. Like, if you have me on your side, oh my God. Like, I'm going to be looking at how I can help you maximize what you're doing. I'm going to be examining from my standpoint, how do I fit into your life? How can I help you? How can I push you in this area? It just comes with the territory, okay? For me. And I think a lot of women are kind of wired similarly, because that help me DNA is in, it's inbred in us, and then that's biblically, and that's from a societal standpoint as well. But, yeah, so don't already be in your purpose. Already be pursuing your purpose. Now, she may come with a word. She may come with something else. She may come with some ingredients that you need to help you in your purpose, but you should already be on the path to that without expecting some woman to do this for you. I don't like that. Again, how am I going to submit to you if you're not even leading? I'm just being honest, a weak man is a no-go. I despise the weakness. I'm not going to say I despise a weak man, but I despise the weakness. If you are weak, if you cannot lead or will not lead, it's the whole problem. Because you're not going to turn me into no Jezebel. That's what you're not going to do. Okay? And the thing is, women will stand up and lead when men do not. And then men can get mad at the women, or you can see a legitimate Jezebel situation create. You're not turning me into that. You need to already know, and you need to already be on the path to your purpose, whatever your purpose is. And you can tell when a man is in his purpose. And let me tell you, that is one of the most attractive things you can come across. A man who is solidly in his God-given purpose. It is evident. It's oozing out of you. Like, you can see it. And it will attract women. So then you have to, decipher who can actually help you and who is just here because they think it's glamorous. Okay. Hopefully that helps with your question. Yeah, spiritual compatibility is huge. Huge. One of the things Miles Monroe said was for women to ask questions. Women, if you are dating, ask questions. Now, don't be nosy, you know what I mean? But, ask him questions about his calling, his purpose, his life, his goals, his vision. Ask. Don't be annoying, but ask all the time. Because that's his way of communicating it. You're communicating your interests, and then it's also a way to see if you're really and truly aligned. Because you may appear to be aligned, and then down the line find out, oh, we're not actually aligned, And it may be problematic, and it may be sad, but better to find out now on date number 10 than on year number 5 of marriage. You need to, and I think some great people have been in relationships together, but they didn't get that stuff hashed out beforehand. And if you wake up to your purpose inside of a marriage, it's much more difficult, I think, unless God just really provides that grace. I think it's much more difficult for that transition to be made, you know what I mean, into your purpose. And there may be a lot more pushback from the person who's supposed to be your partner. than if you would have had it figured out beforehand. And the best way to do that is by being in God and being around prophetic people. You know, prophetic people should be able to speak into your life, but they should also be able to confirm what God is saying to you personally. That's not to say all prophecy is confirmation, because it's not. Some of it is illumination. Some of it is like a rhema. Some of it is a new thing, you know, but your spirit man already knows. So there should be an agreement, even if you're hearing it for the first time, like, oh, yes, my baby is leaping, you know. There should be an understanding of that thing. And your partner should be able to help you. But you can't just expect the person to do that for you. Because it's like, no, you can't expect me to lead and then get mad when I don't let you. You can't, and then women, like, if you're already spiritually solid and you get a man who isn't, you are going to be frustrated, because it's like, I want him to lead and I want him to do this, but he's not where he needs to be. It's going to create a problem for you, because he's supposed to lead. It doesn't mean he's supposed to bulldoze you. And the church said amen. But he is supposed to be able to lead you. Okay, and so those are things that all need to be hashed out. What are our values? What is our idea of the ideal family, the family that we desire? Do you even want a family outside of just being married? Because there's some women today who don't want kids. I don't understand it, but they don't, you know, and you have to respect that. And honestly, you should not force a person into having children if they don't want children, you know. What should you do if you married the person that was an assignment instead of being good for your soul and your purpose? Well, you're married now. So this is not a situation where you go your separate ways. Now, God will do whatever God does and will allow whatever he allows. But if you married them, he respects your choice. He may not respect and agree with your decision, but he respects your free will, okay? So let me turn on a light because it's getting kind of dark. Just a second. Okay. Okay, that's better. A little bit better. Okay. So, don't mind me, I'm just sitting on the floor at the side of my sofa. Got all my books and stuff and my laptop. You can see the red laptop behind me. But yeah, so what was I saying? What was your question? Let's see. Yeah, so God's not going to break up your marriage just because you discovered your purpose. Now, I believe there's grace, but this is why it's so important to find these things out before you say, I do. Because marriage is supposed to be forever. Now, does it always end that way? No. But it's supposed to be forever. And what the Bible does not say is, oh, you've discovered your purpose and that this person is not in agreement with it, so that is biblical grounds for marriage. The only biblical out for marriage is infidelity. And a lot of people will throw in physical abuse. Okay. That's really the only grounds for covenant breaking. But note what Jesus said. Moses allowed you to write a bill of divorce. Why? Because of the hardness of your hearts. That sounds like unforgiveness to me. So divorce is like legalized unforgiveness outside of like those parameters. But then when you go and read Malachi, it doesn't give any qualifiers. It says, for I, the Lord, hate divorce. It's the rending of a garment. So this is why you need the Holy Ghost, because God is God. God can do anything. He can do absolutely anything. Now, there are some things he should not have to do, which is why making a wise decision and being led by Holy Spirit in the first place is paramount. But if you are in the situation, his grace is sufficient. His grace is sufficient. And so you really have to seek God about what he wants you to do in that situation, because I'm pretty sure leaving your spouse is not it. These preachers who get up and say, God showed me that my wife wasn't supposed to be my wife. You are a liar, and the truth is not in you. Now, here's the thing. You may recognize that this person is not the person you were supposed to marry. That may be true. You do not get to go up and dishonor the person you chose soberly to come into agreement with. Now, for some of you who watch the Red Table Talk and watch the episodes with Will and Jada talking about their marriage, he talks about his first marriage to his first wife, Cherie, whatever her last name is. I thought it was Fletcher. I don't know if it's still Fletcher. Anywho, he talks about his marriage and meeting, I guess Jada. Now, he didn't cheat with Jada or anything like that, but saying, I knew I was married to the wrong person. I do believe that can happen, but you married them. So some of those situations are going to fizzle out. If God is not involved, if God doesn't help you, whatever, if the person chooses to leave you, there's really nothing you can do about it. And if they do choose to leave you, now I'm not talking about you driving them out. That is not what I'm saying. But some of those people, what Paul talks about it in the context of a believing spouse versus an unbelieving spouse. If your spouse, chooses to leave you, then, let them. But if they choose to remain with you, then stay married to them. And that's talking about believers and unbelievers. So if you are both believers, what God do you serve? Is God not omnipotent? Is he not almighty? Is he not able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ask or think, according to the power that worketh in you? Is he God or is he not? Did he shed his blood for you or did he not? Did he get up on the third day or did he not? Did he take all power in his hands or did he not? Is he seated at the right hand of the Father or is he not? Either he is who he said he is or he's not. So if he is who he said he is, then I have to believe that he can make provision for me. Then I have to believe that he can work a wonder in my marriage, a miracle in my marriage, a sign in my marriage. Because God is God. People will be people, but God is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should repent. And he is bigger than your mistakes. And the thing is, you can maybe realize, okay, I didn't make a wise decision when I got married. But now I can start making a wise decision. And I do believe that God will grace you for that. I really do. If you decide together in agreement, this is maybe was not the wisest situation. That is, I'm not even going to say a tough pill. That's like a tough bottle of pills to swallow. I could only imagine. But God is still God. He created the universe, spoke it into existence from nada, okay? Hung it on nothing. And you think your marriage is a problem for him to fix? It's nothing. There is nothing too hard for the Lord. Absolutely nothing. Divorce, infidelity, babies outside of on the other side of the sheet, they say, babies born on the other side of the sheet. Like, none of that is bigger than God. I've heard about people who literally have generational familiar spirits that, I'll say influence them to cheat. And the story of them being delivered and set free. So you really have to seek what the heart of the Father is for that situation. Do you have children? Are you going to break up your family because your marriage is not serving you? We got all these cute little memes going around. Don't keep anything and anyone in your life who doesn't serve you. Find that for me in the Bible. I'll wait. No, because you were put here to serve. Your marriage is for you to serve your spouse. I know, tough pill, but it's the truth anyhow. You were put here to serve. Now, hopefully, they will serve you too. But you were put here to serve. And if we only deal with situations that only serve us, first of all, your marriage is not going to last. That's not a prophecy. It's just the fact of life, okay? If only things that serve you are what you allow to be in your life, you are never going to be in your purpose. You're going to be one of those who are called but are not chosen, because in the words of Marshawn Evans Daniels, the chosen are those who answer the call. You're going to be someone who has all of the ingredients and the potential to be who God has called you to be, but you will not, because you will not go through the process of refinement. You will not go through the refiner's fire. You will not go through trials. You will not allow unfun situations. And I'm not talking about being abused or manipulated or controlled or in Jezebelic situations. That is completely demonic, and you cannot find one place in Scripture where God tells you to dwell with a Jezebel or an Absalom or a Herod that's trying to kill you or a Saul that's trying to kill you. You can't find it. Okay? Don't get me started on teaching on that. If you have questions, you can ask later. Okay? But just because something is tough, are we not in the army of the Lord? Okay? So I think I have to go now. But, yeah, I need to go. But, yeah, so this was fun. This was unplanned, but I love you guys. If you have comments, post them. I'm going to find the podcast link and post it in the link, in the comments below. But you guys take care and God bless. Okay?